So let's go ahead and just jump right into this thing. This is the Hawk Knives Talon, and this is the most expensive knife that I own. I came about this knife by trading an Oz Machine Co. Roosevelt for it, which also are pretty pricey. And I sold a bunch of other knives to get the Oz Roosevelt, but regardless of any of that, Oz Roosevelt, great knife. Glad I had it. Glad I got to give it a try, but I was kind of looking for something different, something a little more interesting, and I found that in this knife. So let's go ahead and jump right in and take a look at first, probably one of the things that makes this knife stand out the most. One of the things that are most interesting about this knife that you don't really see on a whole lot others. I think NCC, there's some Serge Panchenkos, but they all are using Hawk Knives mechanism. They're using it with his permission, I believe so. So we're talking about a combination of the Hawk Lock with the toggle detent. Those combination of things make this really interesting original action that you only see on those knives and these, and it's something that I really enjoy quite a lot, and that's coming from somebody who doesn't enjoy a crossbar lock. I don't like the Mannix style lock. I've tried it. I've wanted to love them. I tried, and I just can't. I can't get it. And this definitely scratches the itch that those kind of locking mechanisms can't, while having a similar kind of interface to actuate the lock. So how do they work? So we've got a tab here that's got kind of a long bar down, that's got a coil spring, and it forces this tab, as well as something internal here that you can't even see, that is pushing against, or that is locks against a pin that's fixed to the blade. So now that pin is below a tab that's being pushed forward by a spring, and now we have a very solid lock with that. When we pull this back, it frees that tab to be able to move. When there is, I think we can see it quite with this lighting, but there is a kind of groove here that it follows internally here. And all of that is happening in between the scale and this inlay. And I don't really have the courage to take it all apart right now. So that is the lock and how it locks open. And we can notice, kind of like with the bearing lock with Spyderco or most other locking mechanisms where you can kind of open it and swing the blade shut, sometimes you'll get some bounce back. But you can swing this thing shut as hard as you want, and you're not getting any bounce back. And I'm still even holding down on the lock. And one of the ways we can do that is the same way we're getting kind of like a feeling of a detent. And that's where a lot of that mechanical action comes in. And that's coming in with the toggle detent. So the way the toggle detent works is there is a spring on kind of a tab that's got a ball on the end of it, and it's got another tab that's got a fitting. And imagine a light switch. A light switch wants to orient itself up or down. It doesn't really want to stay in the middle. You can kind of get it in there, but once it starts to travel in one direction, there's some internal spring going on that's making it want to force its way up or force its way down. Like once you kind of get past a certain point, it's going to push its way in a direction, and that's similar to the way that the toggle detent works. It holds the knife closed, and it doesn't hold the knife open at all, and it doesn't really give any kind of assist, but it's something that you have to overcome to open the knife. And you can see how, kind of like with the light switch, like if we get it past a certain point, it's just going to kind of take over and pull itself shut the rest of the way. So that is that switch wanting to hold it down. Now you can hear that click as we overcome that. And that's something in here that's just literally flipping back and forth here. And that is acting on a different pin that is fixed to the blade there. And we can see once it's open, it's going to want to like push it open a little bit too. So we can see we get like a little bit of bounce there, but it's wanting to more so keep it closed than open. Now, the combination of those things allows for one of the most unique feeling opening and closings of any knife out there. And, I loved the Oz Machine Co. Roosevelt and things like a Koenig Arius, or just the other kind of high-end, handmade, US-made titanium frame lock knives. You got 2 slabs of titanium, nicely tuned, great fit and finish on it. And don't get me wrong, those are great. But there's something else going on here. There's other stuff going on here that I really like, that I really appreciate, and it feels more premium. When you say, oh, well, is that worth $1,000? I mean, for something that you don't need, no, that's completely subjective. That is something that is going to vary very much from person to person. Is a BMW worth the money? Is a Rolex worth the money? Well, those are completely different calibers of things than this, but it's kind of a similar feeling. You're paying more to get something a little nicer, to get something a little different, to get something a little cooler, whatever you want to call it. You're paying more for because we are knife nerds and enthusiasts and collectors, and it goes into that. I'm sure people pay more than $1,000 for certain comic books. There's something about us that apparently these are worth it to enough people that Hawk Knives are able to crank them out steadily and be able to make it worth them to keep doing. And I'm not sure how much of them they're going to keep doing, actually. I've heard some things. But anyway, the mechanism in that is one of the most unique things about it. Some other cool stuff about it that I really, really enjoy more than I thought it did. One of the other ones is this pocket clip. The pocket clip, we can see it's another kind of spring actuated thing here where we can just fully take the tension off and back on, and it makes for some really easy in and out of the pocket. We got a lot of blades sticking up there. It's not a deep carry, and I ended up actually liking that much more than I thought I would. I was on the fence about it. Like, I don't know, that's kind of weird, an extra step, an extra thing, but it's actually much, much easier. Sometimes you get a really tight pocket clip and you got to kind of finesse it around to get it in, and you might have it dragging on your pockets some when you get out. And you know what? If you have to do those things, it's not the end of the world. It's not a $1,000 problem that this knife needs to solve, but it is cool that when you got something like this, that those little details all kind of add up, and it is really nice. The blade. Let's move on to the blade. We've got M390 steel. It has got a nice deep hollow grind on it, so it's going to have some very nice slicing action. From what I have seen and heard, these are treated properly. I haven't sharpened and used this knife a whole lot, so I can't say for sure myself, but we are coming down to 13 thousandths behind the edge. I'm not even fully behind the edge. Let me move that up a little bit. Now we are actually right at the end of that apex there, right at the end of that secondary bevel. So we've got 11.5 thousandths behind the edge. Very nice thin slicey blade. It's going to be an excellent performing knife, and from what I have used, it does perform very well. I haven't really put this thing entirely through its paces, I'll admit that. I'm not one that, I don't have safe queens. I think a way to truly appreciate a knife is to use it in the way that it was designed to be used. So while the minimal use that this knife has seen, I have enjoyed it quite a bit. The blade is 3.5 inches, and we got just under 8 inches overall on this thing. So we can do a little size comparison. Here we have it lined up to a small Sebenza. We can put it pivot to pivot or butt to butt right there. And we put it through something around the similar size as like a PM2 there. Almost exact size as a PM2. We're getting maybe a little more cutting edge on the Talon, but just some reference for a size there. And the ergos on this thing are perfect in my opinion, and the way that the blade is kind of oriented downward from the handle, so you're holding it and it's going to kind of allow those cuts to be done. That forward oriented blade is going to allow just for some really like ease of use, in my opinion. Is it going to make that much of a difference compared to something that's not? No, this is still just fine, but I can't appreciate that little bit of difference that it does make. I really like that style. Like the Spyderco Capara has that similar style. The blade is oriented a little lower than the handle there with that same kind of similar downswept blade shape. Really a huge fan of that. You can make kind of cuts on flat surfaces a little easier without your hands getting in the way, and I think it's just a great style for all-around use, is that orientation. The little details on this thing and the fit and finish on it are so excellent. Of course, we've got a 100% solid lockup on it. There's no rough edges on this thing. There is chamfering and kind of little knockdowns all over the place. I like the way that this backspacer kind of curves in there. We've got the jimping on the back to dig into your palm for some extra grip. This very not too aggressive but functional jimping there. I've heard people mention the way that the blade sticks out here, but that is really not a problem at all. It kind of fits into the fold of the finger very perfectly there. This knife is a joy to use, and it really feels great in the hand as well. But all in all, $1,000 knife. You know, it looks cool. It's interesting. Is it worth it? Again, that's subjective. If it's worth it to you and you have the means to get it and check it out, and if you're interested in it and you're looking at one and you're thinking about it, if it's something that's even slightly on your radar, I would highly suggest it. For the regular like person who's not just wildly obsessed with it, you know, somebody who's not super into knives, I wouldn't suggest going and spending $1,000 on something like this. You know, that's someone, you know, a $50 Kershaw and maybe even much less can probably get the job done for them just fine. They're not going to notice the little details, but hats off to the people who do, because I mean that's kind of why we're all here, isn't it? Like we're kind of crazy about this stuff, and that's how we end up with things like these and get to experience it and enjoy it. And you know, I think $1,000 knives and things like that get a lot of hate. And I get it, but you know, oh, it's a tool, it's meant to be used, it's crazy, whatever. I mean, you know, if it's something you enjoy and something that makes you happy, again, there's people who spend more on comic books and anything else that they collect and they like. This is something that's got some really cool engineering and machining and quality, fit and finish, everything that kind of makes a knife a great knife. I believe this has. This particular one is the Mars Valley. Didn't really talk about this inlay too much yet, but we've got this nice red, orange, and gray with the carbon fiber. These come in a few different, lots of different flavors now, actually, but this was the one I had the opportunity to get, and I jumped all over it, and I am really glad that I did. So if you're going to try a Hawk Talon, or if you have one, let me know what you think of it, and if you are going to pick one up, let me know, because, you know, if you're thinking about it and you got the means again, definitely do it. I would do it. I would take the jump, take the leap. And if you don't like it, these knives fly off the shelf. These knives do not last on the secondary market. Like they go up and they're gone. This particular model is sold out, and you know, you're not going to have any trouble offloading that thing if you don't like it. But Hawk Talon, really, really cool knife. Glad I got it. Very interesting. Thank you for watching.